Hello, I'm going to be talking about meningitis today. This is a topic in microbiology. There's many things that can cause meningitis. I'm going to go over two of the main types. I guess there's a few others, but I'm just going to go over two. We're going to go through what causes it, um, what the treatment is, who's susceptible, if it's associated with anything, what the symptoms are, and if there's any treatment, and how to prevent it. So there's many different ways. We'll go into it. So let's begin. So what is meningitis? Meningitis is the swelling of the meninges. What are the meninges, you ask? That's the protective covering of the brain and the spinal cord. So that protects the brain. And if there's an infection, then it swells, it causes it to swell and causes a lot of other serious things. So there's a bunch of other infections that can cause meningitis. Typically, an infection of the brain fluid can happen. So there are two types of meningitis that I'm going to go over. There's a few others. So let's start off with viral meningitis. Well, it can be caused by one or more different viruses. So there's a virus that causes this type of meningitis, and then them combined could cause this meningitis. Viral meningitis is pretty common. New York State said that they found 700 to about 700 cases every year. So it's fairly common. It's not too much to worry about. But they say that the outbreaks are rare because most cases are single or isolated events. So you don't have to worry about there being an outbreak in it. So normally it's just like one person or a few people in one group and then not like a huge outbreak across like a state. So let's move on to bacterial meningitis. This one is caused by bacteria, and this one's very serious. Many people can die from bacterial meningitis within a few hours, so that's something you need to go get checked out if you think you have. It can cause many permanent disabilities like brain damage, hearing loss, and learning disabilities. So you really don't want to have to get with this. Both of these meningitis, viral and bacterial, can be associated with different things as well. So viral meningitis is associated with somebody having mumps or herpes. So if you have mumps or herpes, you might need to think about you might have meningitis, the viral kind. If you have sepsis, bacterial meningitis is also associated with that. So you want to get checked out for that if you have sepsis. So let's look in a little more detail of viral meningitis. So who's susceptible to viral meningitis? Mostly it's children. So most older people, probably about like 12, maybe more because kids are about 12 and under, depending on who you talk to. So if you're over 12, you don't really have to worry about it. But it's still something that you need to be aware of. So what causes viral meningitis? Well, there are a series of viruses called enteroviruses. These are intestinal viruses that are in the intestine and they can get up into the meninges and cause viral meningitis. So how does it spread, you ask? Well, it can be spread from person to person, or an insect like a mosquito can cause you to contract meningitis. So there's only two ways for it to be spread. Now, what are the symptoms? You have a headache, fatigue, fever, sore throat, and because it's an enterovirus, you'll have intestinal issues, and you might have a stiff neck. But your symptoms will arise within a week or so of being exposed to the virus that causes this. And they say that there is no treatment for the viral meningitis, no medication or antibiotics. They say just wait it out, do your best, drink water, plenty of sleep, everything like that. So let's look into more detail of bacterial meningitis. what type of bacteria causes this? Well, the Streptococcus pneumoniae causes bacterial meningitis, along with group B Streptococcus. So there's a few others that I just didn't name. So there's a few that cause bacterial meningitis. So who's susceptible here? Well, looks like everybody, because we have newborns, children, adults, and the elderly. So that's pretty much all the age groups we have. So this is one that you need to be more aware of and make sure that you get checked out as soon as you think you might have this, because this one is more deadly than the viral type of meningitis. So how is bacterial meningitis spread? Well, you can get it from person-to-person contact, meaning you can exchange fluids or however else, or spit droplets can get on somebody, blood, everything like that. Or you can get it from food. So if one of these bacteria are in the food that you're eating, you could potentially get bacterial meningitis. So now what type of symptoms do you have if you have bacterial meningitis? It's different from the viral. Because if you remember, the viral was a stiff neck, a fever, headache, fatigue. Well, with bacterial, you're going to have nausea, you're going to have vomiting, you're going to be very confused, you're not going to know what's going to be going on. More serious types of symptoms are seizures and coma. So that would be later on, like you're really close to passing away, because those are more serious. There's also this thing called photophobia. Now, photophobia is the sensitivity to light. So if you're sick, light hurts your head, makes you sick, you don't want to be around it. Now, you typically develop these symptoms within 3 to 7 days of the exposure to the bacteria. Now, how do you treat this one? Well, with bacterial meningitis, there's actually treatment. You use antibiotics immediately. Because it's a bacteria that causes it, you can use antibiotics. And if you don't get the antibiotics immediately, then you might have a problem. You might get really sick within a couple hours. So, all right. Oh, here's a picture of a swollen brain, swollen meninges, that this person has meningitis. I think I looked up bacterial meningitis for this. But yeah, that doesn't look fun at all. All right. Now, how do you prevent yourself from getting meningitis? Well, you can avoid being around cigarettes or smoking cigarettes, because they have potentially a bunch of toxins that could carry meningitis. So that's not good. You want to make sure you get plenty of rest with everything else. You don't want to be around the sick when they might potentially have meningitis. And you also want to get vaccinated for meningitis. So your body will get a little bit of the disease, and it will know how to fight it if you do potentially get that disease. Now, I use a couple references: Department of Health, CDC, and CDC. So thanks for watching my video, and we'll see you next time.